you can really grow a business rapidly and absolutely go broke. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Behind Their Success podcast. Today we have on Roggen Frick. Roggen is a dynamic entrepreneur whose journey from motocross enthusiast to manufacturing innovator is as inspiring as it is instructive. Raised in the world of heavy machinery through his father's construction business, Roggen's early exposure to hands-on work sparked an entrepreneur spirit that would eventually lead him to found Bare Iron Works, a company that has grown from a modest college side hustle into a powerhouse serving the excavation and construction industry nationwide. Roggen, welcome on Behind Their Success.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I'm really looking forward to our conversation we're going to have today.
Yeah, absolutely, Roggen. So tell us about your business. Tell us about Bare Iron Works and what is that?
So Bare Iron Works is a company that we made because we saw a demand for certain products in the civil construction industry that wasn't quite being met or fulfilled. Like the products that we make can be hard to find at times. And it seems like there wasn't, too good manufacturers out there that brought good value to the table. And that's what we see now. It originally started out as just the idea of, like you said, a side hustle in college. I would weld up our main product, which is a grizzly rock screen for screening out soil and getting rid of big rocks. And I needed a shop to put my dirt bike in. And so I decided, well, we'll get a welding shop. I can put my dirt bike in there and work on it. And I'll just make some of these grizzlies and I'll sell them. At like a Ritchie Brothers auction or whatnot. And I built a website so I could advertise it. And pretty soon I started getting so much business that I was in a bigger shop and I had a couple employees. And then it was a little bit too much to try to keep up with school and everything.
Yeah, I bet. So this was all while you were in college, right?
Yeah, this was my freshman year of college. It was
wow.
I rebuilt a dirt bike of my buddies. The engine was toasted, so I rebuilt the engine, got it running again, and sold it, and that paid for the first month's rent to the shop, and helped me get the welder, so that I could start making it. And it's been quite the journey. I've learned a lot along the way. I learned how to weld just because of my dad's construction company. I had hands-on experience that, and then in my good old high school ag class, I got a lot of time to practice welding, and so that taught me a skill that helped pay the bills. And when it first started out, it was kind of crazy. I remember my first shipment of iron I wasn't ready for it. I built a crane so that I could unload the truck, and I didn't have the crane ready yet. And the iron shipment was supposed to come the following day. Yeah. This is lesson number one, is that it's okay to say no and reschedule truck, because the truck came up and I was like, oh my gosh. So I leave class and I drive really quick over to my shop, and I get there, I meet the driver, and the crane's not ready. I pick up all the iron with the crane, and I have him pull out from under it. And because it wasn't set up quite right, the iron just started to kind of like swing, and it went straight into the wall. And
good start on your first load of iron.
First load of iron. It didn't go very well. And so that was lesson number one. I learned right away. It's okay to say no. Go ahead and reschedule for the time that it was supposed to be here, so I could have my crane ready. But now, now we're a full-on operation. We have 6 production employees. Very professional. Safety's number one priority in our shop. We have proper cranes, forklift certifications, and everything. And it's come a long ways from the humble beginnings.
From the beginnings. Yeah. That's kind of interesting. So, it's kind of an interesting story, right? So this kind of started as there was no grand plan. At least my assumption here, what I'm taking away from your story, right? It was, hey, I started doing this. I'm going to play around with some stuff. I just need to make a little bit of money, so I'm fixing a dirt bike. And you kind of turned this into just one thing led to another, and it kept building, right?
Yeah, because it was never the plan to actually be working in manufacturing. I actually got a degree in construction management and was going to work in construction. And even when I shut the business down midway through college just so I could finish my degree, and I went and worked in commercial construction for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And then my dad decided, hey, he was working in for a big construction company, Kiewit, and he was kind of getting tired of working 7 days a week, 12 hours a day, and he was living in Louisiana instead of at home. And it was just becoming a little much. And he said, the grizzly business seemed like it had good potential. What if we, started that back up as a team, added some product lines and everything? And so I kind of focused on the marketing side because my website did a pretty decent job at getting me business. And then he worked on setting up the operations while I was still working at the commercial contractor. So that way I didn't have to take a salary, and it kind of helped get the business up and going a little quicker. And then eventually I was able to come on full time, and now we work as a cohesive team, and we've done great things together.
Yeah. How old are you now, Roggen?
26. So I would have been 18 when I started it.
Yeah. Okay. Starting that out, right? Like, for example, right, that crane situation, or you were in the middle class, you're dealing with several different things. A lot of people wouldn't have continued down that path that you did there, right? They wouldn't have taken that chance. They wouldn't have ordered that big thing of iron and start, trying to just slap together a crane and make it all happen, right?
Right.
Why do you think you did? Why did you make that choice? If you haven't,
I think that because of the experience that I had growing up, I wasn't like buying iron and building things and using my hands to make something wasn't as scary of an experience as maybe a lot of people are, who's like thinking about moving into starting their own business where they have to do some type of hands-on production of something they never done before. I felt comfortable welding. I had made one of these and sold it in high school, the first one, and the customer liked it. It was built well. I did it. I was getting to be a good enough welder at that point that I felt confident I could make them. And I think just that exposure, I feel like a lot of kids don't get exposure to hands-on things anymore. And when they get up, into the adult age, reading a tape measure is still kind of a new skill, can be at times. And so, and when you're talking about building something, anything complex, these are simple, but anything, it can be overwhelming for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure. So obviously, you were young, starting out your own business, young entrepreneur. I'm sure you've had to learn some lessons along the way. Tell us about one of those experiences, right, where maybe you made a mistake or something went wrong, right, in the business. Like I said, all of us have plenty of those. Give me one of those stories and kind of what was your takeaway? What did you learn from that?
Yeah. So, I feel like as you build a business and you grow with a business, your roles change, right? When I first started it, I was cutting the steel, I was welding, I was doing accounting, I was doing every single thing that is involved with the business, right? I was even doing the deliveries, and that was something that I was doing, like free deliveries for the first 200 miles. And that was just taking up way too much time, right? And so, learning how to manage what you're good at, and just kind of learning things, because I didn't understand how the freight industry works and how to ship anything. But as you grow with your business, then you're going to start turning away from being the hands-on guy, and you're going to start putting on your business hat, and you have to start using some business mindset. And one of the first things that we kind of learned was cash flows and how important it is. And I had a little bit of exposure to it in the construction program, because that's very important for construction projects. We were building a lot of these, and we were doing net 30 terms. And so we didn't have very good cash flow coming in through the business. And it's when we started getting a larger volume of orders, it started becoming a little bit difficult to manage that. It's like, okay, are we going to get payroll paid and everything like that? And so we also had, some customers that probably shouldn't have trade credit terms. And so
what do you mean? You got old accounts receivable, no one's going to pay, huh?
Right. Yeah. And it's like finding those customers there that are genuine and making a vetting process for that. And so that's when I decided, well, what if we switch to e-commerce? Because it makes it more convenient to buy the product that they're going to check out right away for the most part. And then you're getting your cash up front to pay for the materials. And so then it helps everything go a little bit smoother. And then once you got some cash going up in the upfront, then you can have some inventory, which also helps drive your sales up because something's ready to go.
Yeah.
And you constantly shifting. I started out as a welder, and now my role mainly in the company is being the business leader and a software and web developer, which is something I never really imagined myself doing.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Same here. It's like, I'm like the full blown marketer, and I'm like, that's not at all what I went to school for.
Yeah.
And you made a couple of great points there. I want to circle back for the listeners there. when Ron was talking about net 30, that's like an accounts receivable term. So basically, he sells a product, delivers it, and the customer's got 30 days to pay.
Mm-hmm.
The amazing thing is this is a great example of how you can really grow a business rapidly and absolutely go broke. And be a very profitable business and have no cash and be broke, right?
Yep.
Because when you're dealing with physical products like Roggen is in his business, is you need inventory, and if you're continuing to grow, you got to continue to feed inventory, and you need more and more capital to do that. And eventually, if you're on net 30 terms with all your customers, is holy moly, there's no cash left in the business, even though everything seems like it's going well, but all the money's gone, right? So you really got to, in a construction business or product type businesses, cash flow, like just profitability is not the only thing you need to be looking at. It's the timing of cash flow is extremely important. And the other thing Roggen was talking about there is really his shifting roles, right? He talked about in the beginning, right? It's similar to my situation in the beginning. I did literally everything. It was me and my computer, and you're wearing every hat in a role. But like as you move up that success ladder, as you start to grow the business, your role needs to shift, right? You need to shift out of the guy that's wearing every hat and into more your zone of genius and what you should be working on, and replacing a lot of those other roles, right, with other people that are skilled at those specific things.
Yeah, definitely. You got to really be willing to delegate. You got to be comfortable with that, because when you first start out, you're like, I have the knowledge, I know how it's working, I'm the only one that can do it right. But you got to kind of shift your mentality. You got to be able to train other people and help them understand what the bigger picture is and what the things that they need to do are. That way you're not wearing every single hat, because in the growth of every business and every phase of it, as it grows, you're going to constantly find yourself pushed to that limit where you can only get so many things done. Yeah. And even that was true at the beginning stage when I was trying to just make one product a month and sell it. And that's the same now where, we have a full production crew and everything like that, because there's just the needs scale as the business scales.
Yeah. And you need to be constantly trading in or trading off tasks that you shouldn't be doing, and trading them off for higher leverage tasks, right? For your time as the owner, right? And that's a process entrepreneurs should always really be thinking of. It's like, how do we push the work down? How do I get other people, I don't know if you've ever read the book Who Not How by Ben Hardy and Dan Sullivan. Fantastic book about anytime something new comes up to your business, it's not like, how am I going to do this? It's like, who is going to do this? Do I have a who in my business that can do this, or do I need to go find a different who? But asking the question of who is going to do this is a whole lot more opening in your mind instead of how, because the entrepreneur usually goes to, oh my God, that's going to be me. How am I going to do that? I can't do another thing. And so you're right. Like every level of the business, there's always a million things you need to be doing. And it's just focus and clarity and trying to find the few linchpin items or the bottlenecks in your business currently that you should be focused on and pressing into, because that's going to release. And then, guess what? You're going to have a new linchpin that you're going to have to work on after that.
Right.
Because the game never stops.
No, it does not. And even something like, something I like about manufacturing compared to construction is you're building the same thing every time. Maybe a little variations, but even in a business like manufacturing, where we have a full system in place and everything is pretty much the same over and over and over again, there's still new things that come up all the time. There's still new customers that want something special done. And there's always something that seems to come up. It's never just the same thing like you would expect it to be. Yeah.
And, that's one of the biggest problems humans have, is that they think they shouldn't have any problems. So there's this day where, my business is in a place and it's like the money rolls in. I don't have any problems. Everything works perfect. My clients get me exactly what I asked for the first time. And, everything's perfect, but that never is, right? Because we're in a dynamic world. Things are always fluctuating. There is no stagnant world to build some perfect thing in. Right. You're always going to have problems. So, we kind of talked about one of the bigger mistakes you made, Roggen. Tell me through all this, as a young guy, 26, pretty impressive kind of, what you built. What would you credit as the best decision you've made on that journey that has led to your success?
I would say that the best thing that we did was creating a system for management for the business. Because especially once you start bringing in employees and managers into your business, you need to have a way to all be on the same page about stuff. And so when we initially started, some things are getting tracked.
Mhm.
Then they're getting tracked in Excel, but it's kind of messy, and probably only one person understands how that
What's
Excel
going
sheet
on?
works, right?
Mhm.
And so one of the things that we did was we launched an ERP system that helps manage our inventory, because now we can track all of our raw material and our work in progress and our finished goods. And that ties into our website. It has an auto scheduler that schedules out all the workers, and then they can, tell how much material they used on a job, and then it picks all of that. And then that gives valuable insights, right? That gives me data that I can read. So instead of guessing that, okay, I think it's going to take 10 hours to make this product, I can look and see what the actual data says and go, okay, well, even though we think that it can be done that fast,
It's not.
it's not happening that fast. So either the employee's not getting it done or our expectations are wrong.
Correct.
And we're kind of reassessing those things. And that it helps us to be tactile and be able to adapt a little bit quicker, as well
Yeah.
as having a system where you're not doing repetitive tasks over and over again, because the
Yeah.
software can be made to help alleviate
yeah.
those types of things, and it's really helpful in those senses.
Yeah, like templates and all these types of things. And yeah, especially with today's technology with AI and everything that's out there, like the ability to really close a lot of the holes in your business. And what I think he's saying there is like systems, right? You started out as a college side hustle, and it's like, just trying to make some money, and like, that's cool and that's great, but like you can't build, that's not a business, right? Like, to be a real business, one that operates and doesn't necessarily take all of your life and all of your stress and everything, you got to start building systems and systems that allow your business to scale. Give you great data, like he's talking about, that tracks, and because what's like tracked and measured is going to improve. And it's really just, hey, it's going from almost like an amateur to a professional, right? There's a great book called it's by Stephen Pressfield. It's about becoming professional, like, and just, as entrepreneurs, that they need to start becoming professional in all their different areas of life and taking things seriously and not just playing with things and being an amateur, to be honest with you.
Yeah. A system doesn't always have to be just like a software system. A system can be a physical system about how do you do things, like in your production, or, like it could be something as simple as like a tool that makes the process better, that you kind of custom develop to make the system better. That's system kind of can be a broad term there.
Yeah, it's really just things that get everybody on your team, kind of on the same page, right? And everybody's agreeing on the same data and facts, and everybody knows like the language and what's going on there, right? And you don't need that when it's just Roggen welding, metal.
Because the system's just my head. I have it all right there.
Yes. But that doesn't work when there's 6 other people in there, right? And things start just, when you start building that, putting things together, things just start getting infinitely more and more complex, that systems and automation need to be built. Otherwise, you're just going to create chaos a lot, right?
Yep. Yeah, and I think, whenever you find yourself stuck in an inefficiency regularly, use that as an opportunity to go, okay, well, how can I take this, systemize it somehow to make it efficient? That might also improve other parts of the business as well.
Yeah.
There's a lot of opportunity in those inefficiencies to really grow your business and make it a little bit better.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that's, that's just the continuous improvement loop. Like, right. I mean, there's, once again, we were talking about earlier, it's like, there's always going to be problems to solve, right?
Yep. Always.
Always problems to solve. And I think the important thing, or where a lot of entrepreneurs get lost, is that they don't take enough time to necessarily think about, okay, what is the number one problem I should be solving, right? I try to think about business problems in a way of like, okay, what's the number one problem that if I fixed, it's like has the biggest outcome on the business, right? And that's just like kind of a way of prioritizing problems of like, what is the biggest problem that would help overall? Okay, let's solve that problem. And yeah,
Yep.
I got a list of 700 problems.
Yep.
At some point, you just got to pick one to start solving. So you need to start solving with the one that's going to, maybe you solve that first problem and it fixes 10 other things on the list that you didn't.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. I'll find myself doing that regularly. It's like I'm trying to fix one thing and then all of a sudden it knocks a couple other things off my list that I wasn't even planning on.
Yeah. And that's where it's, focus and clarity and knowing exactly, what you're building, like what you're trying to build, like as specific and as clear as possible. And if you get super clear on that kind of stuff, it the priorities of problems to fix become a whole lot more clear. And often, those problems, those linchpin problems are the ones that maybe we've been avoiding, or the ones that we're not good at yet because that's why they haven't been solved. Right.
Right.
So it is always a time of trying to challenge yourself as an entrepreneur to step into whatever problem that you've either avoided or didn't know was a problem, but now see. To be brave enough to kind of step into that and start working on that problem, because we want to work on problems that we're good at and can solve real fast, because that gives us that dopamine hit and makes us feel good. But it really doesn't
Keeps us
move the business forward, right?
Right.
Yeah. There's a big difference between activity and like productivity. Right.
Right. Yeah. Because you can be working on stuff that might not contribute to the overall goal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Are you looking for a new tax experience? Looking for an advisor that actually brings you high-level ideas and proactively plans so you aren't overpaying your taxes? Or how about one that even just responds and communicates in a timely fashion? If any of that resonates with you, you probably just have a tax preparer and not a tax planner. And it is through the tax planning process where all the value is found. And when tax planning is done right, it has a positive return on investment. I'm Paden Squires. I'm a CPA and owner of Squires Tax Planning. We work alongside entrepreneurs and high-income earners, helping them pay the least amount of income taxes, both legally and ethically. We have saved our clients hundreds of thousands of dollars through specific strategies, and we guarantee we can find multiple tax strategies that your current tax preparer hasn't told you about. If that interests you, head over to squirestaxplanning.com. There you can take our free assessment to see how likely it is that you are overpaying on your income taxes. From there, you can also book a free tax discovery call with our team to see what it would look like to have us working for you. So, you talked, Roggen, earlier about making the shift into e-commerce, and can you tell us a little bit about that? You as a construction industry you're a manufacturer, but speak to that a little bit, and I can definitely see how that dramatically changed your business for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and I think e-commerce is a big part of letting our business exist, because I think, before the internet, I don't know if this business making these products could exist, because you would have to put so much effort into getting your products into catalogs and distributors and things like that, that it might not even be,
make sense.
You probably wouldn't get the volume, right? They were probably products that were made by just a fabricator, and they may have been a higher price relatively because there's not that efficiency of lean management in there.
Yeah.
But now, because of the internet, we can make a platform where everybody can find us. They just search what they need, and you get on our website and you can purchase it just as easy as if you're going on Amazon to buy something, right? You can customize it, have it to your cart, get an instant shipping quote, and send it out. And it just by making the process a lot easier for the customer and making everything easier for the customer, it really helps the business out a lot. Because before it was just a lead generation website. Here's your website. This is what we offer. Fill out this form. We'll get back to you with a quote.
Yeah, well,
in a day or two. Right now, it's all instant. You know exactly what you're going to pay when you add everything to your cart, and everything's easier. There's financing options and things like that, and it's just a better tool for a customer to be able to find out what they need.
Yeah, and that automates a lot of stuff on your side too, right? It takes out, you're not tracking down payments, you're not going back and forth with the customer to, customize something, right? It's you guys, even as a business, getting focused and clear of like, okay, here's our products, here's all the, maybe, we got 10 ways to customize this or whatever. We can't have 1,000 ways to customize this, but you know what I mean?
At first, when I started building up the system, I'm like, I'm going to put in every request that we've gotten for customizations. Well, you get the base model, you get the customization, you get all the colors. Pretty soon you have like 5,000 SKU
10,000
numbers that you're trying
SKUs.
to track, and it to become now the system's inefficient because it's over encumbered. So you go, okay, well, we'll just go with the most popular, and then we'll find another way to manage and deal with the other custom ones. But yeah, it helps out a lot because now a customer goes on the website, they can see exactly what's in stock, so they can kind of shop around and see if they need it quick. If they want the custom things, they can buy it, check out. And the nicest thing is the minute that the order goes in, it's on the schedule getting ready for production. Yeah. It's already right there, ready to go, already has a welder assigned. We know how much material we need. And it just makes the production so much faster because when you're serving an industry like construction doesn't wait. I believe, all the construction we see in the world, we see it looks like it's always behind schedule and stuff like that, and nothing ever gets done. And it's because it's just such a tight thing to manage and try to
big logistics thing.
Yeah, right? and if you can't serve the needs of the construction industry to get things there fast and on time, they're going to find somebody that will.
Yeah.
And they'll pay a premium for that too, especially if it's critical.
Yeah, that's a huge advantage, for you of building that system is that, what do you want? This is what I have. Do you want any of it? Right? Like it's here.
Right.
And you're right. I just assume you probably do get a bunch of business of people are just showing up and like, oh crap, I need a product. Let's order this now.
Yep, I needed it yesterday. It happens more often than you think.
Yeah, well, you think of construction projects. They got millions in loans out there, and every day costs X number of dollars in interest, and you know what I mean. Like time is very, very valuable.
Yes, it is.
Those types of projects, and it comes back to like simplifying your offerings and whatnot. There, like I think I don't know. I saw something online a couple of weeks ago, and it was like McDonald's like original menu, and it was. Hamburger, cheeseburger, French fries, ice cream cone.
Right.
That was and like a soda, right? And they like 3 different types of soda. But like they built a model that was so simple, and they squeezed every efficiency out of that. And by keeping the menu very simple, it allows it to get insanely efficient, right? From the production side and from an inventory side and mandatory, like if you got 10 million SKUs, inventory becomes a freaking nightmare, right?
Right.
The more you simplify that and speak to your direct customer, like, man, there's a lot of efficiencies there.
Yeah. And by keeping it simple to start, then you'll learn what the customers kind of have a demand for, what they want. And then you can build on top of the system. But trying to be complex and then make a system that works for everything can be difficult. I think like that efficiency of keeping that menu simple for McDonald's, because then all they're making is burgers. That's all the guy's got to do. He's got to make 20 burgers at once, put them all on, stack the burger together, and turn around. Here you go. They're ready to serve. Where if you tried to do that, what like their menu is today, you got chicken sandwiches, you got chicken nuggets, you got all those things. Well, it's because they built on that simple system to serve the demands. And if they tried to do that way back in the day, you look at any kind of like mom and pop burger shop that's got 20 things on the menu. It's going to take forever because they don't have that system for that one thing. It's made to order, and it's probably
everything's customized.
They're not going to throw anything on the grill until you ask for it. Where McDonald's is, they got things ready to go. It's already pre-cooked, things like that.
And when they're so simple too, they have all the data, and then they can predict customer behavior, and then they can even be more prepared. And it all just builds on itself, right?
Yes, it does.
Yeah, that's simplicity for sure.
Yeah.
So, Roggen, you've built stuff. You're still 26, right? Young guy. What do you see for the future? For you, for business, like what's your goals here?
For sure, for the business right now, we're trying to expand our product lines, and so we're doing that by bringing in other experts in their fields to do that. Because now the process is there's a lot to it now. You got to come up with a concept, got to prototype it, got to draw it, got to test it, then you got to take pictures, then you got to market it. You got to do so many things, right? So now there's more players involved that get products up online. That it still follows our system, right? And it's just like the McDonald's thing. Now we can take the big system and apply it to different products and then scale that up. So we're expanding our products lines and the services that we offer is what we're doing. And then for me, I'm doing a little bit of construction consulting on the side for some construction businesses to help them systemize their stuff and help them with the software side. Because I've gotten my system set up enough that I can have a little bit of free time to help out some other clients of mine. I'm not full scale doing that, but
Yeah.
some good side work.
You figured out a few things, building your own systems, and now you can certainly help people get a little better.
Yeah, now I have a system for building systems. It's that
Yeah,
I can
so
easily
meta,
implement
right?
into other businesses. Yeah.
That's very cool. And that's the journey, though. It really is. It's like a lot of the entrepreneur journey. It's like, okay, you go through this journey, you figure a lot of stuff out. And I don't say the good entrepreneurs, but the people that go through all those battles and figure a lot of that stuff out, they end up turning around and trying to teach that to people. Right. And that's kind of like the whole point of this show too, right? Is to help people skip a few steps and not, maybe not run into the cream problem you ran into.
Right.
There are thousands of problems I've run into and beat my head against a wall when I could have maybe listened to, a show like this and, I should do it this way, not that way.
Yeah, it's always great to be able to learn from other people's mistakes and not have to do them yourself.
Yeah, those don't hurt as much, do they?
Right.
So, man, this has been a great conversation. Tell people, like, what's the best way people can connect with you, Roggen, get to know more about you or anything like that?
Yeah, if you guys are interested in what we have to offer in the construction market or just want to learn about what we do, you can go to beariron.com, and that has all of our products that we offer on there, as well as some regular blog posts that are trying to educate the industry about some of the products that we have. Some of our products, like our concrete washout tubs, are an environmental requirement by the EPA, and some construction companies still aren't using those yet. And there are even some bigger companies gotten a lot of fines for not using them properly or keeping up with it. So we're trying to expand that front of our website so where we can have some more educational resources about civil construction and how that works there and why it's important.
Yeah, that's awesome, Roggen. Anything else, man? Anything else you want to leave for the listeners before we go? Any parting pieces of advice?
One thing I've always kind of found myself doing is it's important to listen to everybody around you. If you're employing somebody, there is a reason that you're employing them. And even if it's the lowest man on the totem pole, they probably have some valuable insights that you don't see anymore, because it's been a long time since I picked up a welder and welded. And so for me to just think that it works the same, especially when I'm not actually a trade school professional welder like the ones I hire, there's definitely some valuable insights that those guys have that I don't. So always be open to listening to what people have to say.
Yeah. The humility, right? Always important to keep the humility. Because you'll never learn anything new without it. When you were talking about the welder again there, it just made me remember as about a 5-year-old kid being with my grandpa and taking a welding stick and just going right over my thumb with it. This was, 30 years ago. And I just ran around the farm and did whatever I wanted. And apparently I was playing with a welder. But I just thought of that story anyway. But the humility and just always be open to learning, right?
Yeah,
for sure.
Yep.
Well, Roggen, man, I appreciate you coming on the show. And listeners, we'll get you next time.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. If you found it valuable, please rate, review, and share it. That is the best way to help us build this and reach more people, as we're trying to accomplish our goal of help creating more healthy, wealthy, and wise entrepreneurs. You can follow us on social media by searching for me, Paden Squires, or going to padensquires.com. On the website and social media, we're always sharing tips of personal growth, and there we can actually interact. I'm looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.